And, Hammer is close to Hamilton. Like, Bulldog's got a Bulldogs jersey. You could have interest in the Hammers as a team name. This will be an Islanders affiliate, by the way.
Yes, it is.
So, Paul, what amongst the things that we did not really have time in our limited visit yesterday with you, what should we pour over here? I know it was pretty interesting to me. I know they weren't said right after one another, and I think I might have brought this up to you yesterday, but it's still very interesting to me how cautious and careful Kekalainen sounded about Tuch. And they are different situations. He's about to become a UFA, so the open marketplace is different than a guy like Benson, who's an RFA, or a guy like Byram, who's just going to be going into the final year of a 2-year contract. But he sounded like he couldn't wait to sit down and negotiate with Byram and Benson, and Tuch sounded very much like it's going to have to be on our terms, kind of.
Yeah, and they've already had negotiations with Tuch and his people, so they kind of know where that's headed. And my takeaway from what he said was when he was talking about the contract has to be able to be a contract that will make us better. So what I took from that is I don't know if we can pay him close to what he wants. Like, let's say it's $11 million. He hasn't said that, but that's what the reporting is. Then it's like, well, now we can't re-sign everybody. Now maybe we can't give Benson the contract we want to, at least right away. And so then does that make us better to bring one guy back, shoot the cap, and then maybe can't bring one or two other guys back, or you got to trade somebody? That's how I took that to mean. Where Byram is more no matter what, his number doesn't count next year anyway because he already has a contract.
Right, it's 6.25 or whatever it is.
So
right.
I think he'd be more excited to negotiate that because the
That's
Skinner,
right.
by the time that goes in, the Skinner deal is down, and you have more. Plus, he said he feels you build from the back end up, and he feels he is the top 4 defenseman in the league, and he would like to keep that.
And the Benson situation is the opposite of what you just described with Byram, because he's coming off entry level, which is, under $1 million, and there is no buffer there. Like, if his new deal is like the deal of a lifetime, like a Doan type deal or something for Benson, then that's right. The first year, bam, whammo, that's on the cap.
And is Benson willing to take a 1-year deal knowing to getting a promise that we will give you the full boat next year type of a thing, just to help us out on the cap type of thing? I don't know if Byram would make that kind of deal or not. It's something I would look into, but that's how I take the whole thing. Is just if you give him $11 million, then you're going to have to do something somewhere else, which is take somebody off your roster.
Paul, on Tuch's series, first of all, when guys sit down for the press conference as they're about to leave for the summer, you have a choice to make whether you want to talk about an injury that you had. There's no obligation to say anything, right? I mean, even I say that almost like it's funny because during the playoffs, guys don't want to talk about it either, but now it's over. So, one player could have an instinct to be like, yeah, I had A, B, and C that I was dealing with. Another, maybe like Tuch yesterday, might say, yeah, not something that we need to really talk about. They might think they're making excuses to talk about an injury. I'm not sure there's a right or wrong way.
Zucker the same way. He wanted
right.
He was actually asked if he was going to need a surgery, and he just said, I don't talk about injuries. It's just not what I do.
Right. And I know I don't have to do that right now, especially because the season is over. But on Tuch, can you explain his series against the Canadiens? Like with Thompson in another way, we all not all, but kind of I certainly felt like there must be something wrong here. But, if there wasn't, there wasn't. Does it make sense to you how he seemed to struggle?
Considering his last 2 games were they were Alex Tuch games. He just couldn't put the puck in the net. But he was playing like Alex Tuch would play. I was thinking that until I saw those 2 games. And I thought, well, he looks fine. The way he's going. He did say everybody's got bumps and bruises and that kind of thing. But he talked about how, he had a lot of confidence after Boston. He thought he started doing things in the Montreal series that were unlike him to start pressing. And that's what made him kind of angry at himself, that it was like, all right, things aren't going well. And then he tried to do some things that just weren't definitely not going to go well. And it just kind of blew up in his face. And then he just, in the last 2 games, decided it was just time to go out and play freely and do your thing. And it worked for him, other than he just couldn't put the puck past the goaltenders. So it's almost like he said he lost a little confidence as that series went on. And he said it's something, even at his age, that he learned from and won't happen again, because he's been through it now and he knows you don't handle it the way that he handled it.
How capable do you think they are, without going outside, to find someone to replace him? If they were to let that, just, we can't get it together, we don't want to pay him 11, we don't want to do an 8-year deal, whatever it is, right? There's a problem, and he's going to go to the market and probably find 12 for 7 somewhere, or 7 for 12 a year. How capable are they of just replacing him? Can Josh Doan kill penalties? These are the questions I'm going to start thinking about and asking. Like, how in-house are they prepared to handle Tuch leaving? And I think more about the penalty killing and the defense than I do the production.
Well, I think of the production too, at 33 and 36 goals in 3 years, in 3 different years. But he mentioned Doan, because I asked, he talked about Doan and how well he did, and I said, all right, he improved greatly from his last year in Utah, but where would you like to see improvement? And Lindy Ruff said at the end, he goes, and quite honestly, he goes, you may not be thinking of this, but he goes, I can see him as a penalty killer. And he said, that's also something that, that they may be shooting for too. It would put a pretty big hole in their lineup. And you've got Ostlund and Helenius coming along, and, you need a spot. And Kulik, who can absolutely rip a puck. I mean, the sky's the limit for Kulik, the way he shoots, and who knows how many goals he can put in a season. So, you got to find spaces for those guys. But they are younger players. They don't necessarily play like younger players, especially Ostlund.
Yeah.
I mean, Ostlund at times was their best player. And so he doesn't necessarily play like that. So Gene was asking about free agency too, and I said, well, you look at free agency, the best free agent is on your roster right now.
Right.
So, and you're in a cap pinch a little bit. So if you're looking for somebody under that, when you're already going to be looking for spots for Kulik and Helenius and Ostlund, and where is a spot for the free agent at July 1st that you can overpay? You had gotten Danforth to take faceoffs. That was the reason you brought him in. One of the reasons. Well, theoretically, he should be healthy next year. I mean, that was one of the things they did to try to alleviate that situation.
There's another penalty killer.
Yeah. And, so do you need to go out and find a face-off man? So that's the thing. It's like, I don't know how much you're going to dabble. Maybe for a defenseman, because Stanley and Shen probably will be gone. And you need maybe a left-handed shooting defenseman there, because Metsa certainly can play, but neither he or Timmins are going to play the left side, and they're not going to break up the top 4. So, where does all that fit in? So maybe you're going to look for a defenseman that you could slide into that spot. I don't really see a guy in Rochester who's ready to do that. So maybe if you're in free agency, that's what you're looking for, as your number 6D as a left-handed shooting D.
With Paul Hamilton, we did get to the goalie stuff yesterday a little bit after all the talking was done. How do I want to phrase this? I think a question that could be asked about this year, now that it's over, is, well, did it work, right? I mean, the rotation with Luukkonen and Lyon. I say that, I'm hesitating to say it because I think it has to be said, yes. Look at the season they each had. Look at the season the team had. In the end, their goaltending let them down late in the playoffs. So, this is the time of year where you can spitball and talk about whatever, no bad ideas, right? Do you think they will, or maybe this is even a no-brainer as you see it, look at what happened this season in net and basically think, oh, why wouldn't we run that back?
It depends what would pop available for you. I mean, if you get a phenomenal goalie, But I think the overall performance by the goaltenders, especially in the regular season, it absolutely worked. And at times in the playoffs, it worked. But I'm looking up right now. Luukkonen in the Montreal series, his save percentage was a little bit under 900. His goals against wasn't all that bad. It was like 271, but his save percentage was 897, which you would want better. He got into 4 games. Lions numbers were not good at all in the Montreal series, and they basically split it. Luukkonen played 221 minutes, and Lyon played 200. So Lyon really played well in the Boston series, got into a really good groove, and then it seemed like it got away from him. Luukkonen, the 2 games in Montreal were phenomenal. The game in Buffalo on Game 5 was not good, but neither was the team in front of him. And Game 7, he made some good saves along the way too, but at the end of the day, they lost in overtime. So, his save percentage from December 9th on was leading the NHL for most of the time, and the alternating goaltenders was good for them. They never got into the alternating goaltenders when it got in the playoffs because Lyon had 3 bad games before the season ended, which put Luukkonen in the number 1 spot to start the Boston series. I think they would have stayed with it had it just kept going and not fallen apart right at the end. But we don't know that for sure. But I think he would have stayed with it if it still was going well at the end of the regular season.
Luukkonen is 27 now. I just wonder where the way this ended leaves everybody with him. I mean, I know people who it would have been really tough to do, but they wanted to go to Lyon in Game 7 or even in Game 5 after Luukkonen helped win them Game 4 and was excellent in Montreal. I think, Bulldog, do you agree with this? I think Lyon might be the fan favorite of the 2 going into next year if they're both on the team. What would your or is it just 50-50? How do you want to do it? I think if they're here, they're going to rotate them probably to start like they did.
My initial answer to that would be that Lyon has been here less, so therefore people don't dislike him as much. Luukkonen has let in. You've got more of a catalog of letdowns. Nothing like a Game 7 overtime loss. Of course, the stakes have never been that big. But, Luukkonen we've got some scar tissue with bad goals and missteps, and those offset the excellent stretches of hockey he's played. And there's just more of both, really, than with Lyon. So I think you're probably right. I think that was even happening this year. That people preferred Lyon simply because you just it's like the new quarterback that hasn't proven anything yet. Well, maybe he can be good. I haven't seen him be bad yet. I think there's a little of that with the 2 guys, but to me, it's a push. They're very much to me equals. They're different guys style wise, but their results were close enough to the same over 82 games to me that I flip a coin on the 2 of them.
Yeah, and I look at it too. How much do you look at, because I'm looking at it now, that stretch where they did very well starting with the 9th. Luukkonen played 25 games, Lyon played 22. Luukkonen had a .919 save percentage, Lyon .911. I mean, they put up really good numbers.
Yep.
One's 18-4-2 and the other's 17-4-1. I mean, that's not bad.
Right.
When you look at it. So do you ignore that, or do you really not pay attention to it, or do you just look at the playoffs and judge by that? That's the question. How are they going to evaluate it?
Well, they've wrapped everything up over there. I don't know about you. Maybe you get on the next bus to some exotic location yourself. But still sinking in, Paul, that this is over. Just what a great time we all had with it. And for those so inclined to watch the playoffs from here, I mean, tonight's going to sting. Maybe all of it will. Thinking about, I mean, you're sort of damned either way. You watch Montreal get buried and might think like, well, I could have done a better job here, but they were out of gas or something. I mean, 2 7-game road series wins, overtime. But if they're good, maybe that's annoying too. Because, I mean, the Sabres were, I mean, they were the better team in Game 7, if you don't want to say it about the whole series, but I think I still would.
Well, this was the day my body crashed. This is the 6th show I've done today, and I have fallen asleep after all of them. I have to set my phone alarm because I can't stop sleeping. My body just is has already shut down, and I still have more to go. I still have a TV show to do today, and and I'm not complaining. I mean, it's just I think my body finally said, "Okay, it's over. Good night."
Makes sense.
We've kept you rolling for 2 months now. Now it's time to shut it down for a bit. So I'll probably shut it down. You probably won't hear from me until maybe the middle of next week or so.
Fair enough.
All right, we can manage. You got a quick thought on? See, all that said, I'm going to ask you one more question and keep you a little bit longer.
Go ahead. I mean, I'm awake now.
Clearly, Montreal, Carolina. I don't know if you've thought much about it. You were working and talking to players and coaches for much of the last 48 hours, unlike me, who just does this show and then is free to just think about whatever. And a lot of it is about, I'm not going to lie, about guitars. But then, there's room for hockey. So Montreal, Carolina, I feel like I was high on Ottawa, who Carolina swept in the first round. To me, Philly was like a joke of a second-round series, and they roared through them too. I wonder if they've seen a team with the high-end skill that Montreal has yet. And I feel like because Andersen's had an excellent playoff, but you know what his history is. And I just wonder, how severely he's been tested. And I just feel like Montreal is and I would say the same about the Sabres if they were the matchup. That's another level, I think, of skill and talent, the power play, all of it. So I wonder if that gives Montreal just a little bit of a jump start here.
You hit exactly what I was thinking. It's the goaltending. If Andersen is still what he was in the first 2 rounds, Montreal has problems. They really do. I think Carolina rips through them too. If they get that kind of goaltending, they're just that good. And now that I said that, since I'm not very good at predicting Montreal will sweep them or something, but yeah, that's. I think it's all up to Andersen. If Andersen becomes the playoff Andersen of before, Montreal has a really good chance of winning this series and probably will. But if he is lights out like he was in the first 2 rounds, the Canadians, I think, are in trouble.
Thank you, Paul. Enjoy whatever comes of your break.
Yeah, we'll talk to you next week.
There you go. There's Paul Hamilton on the West Her Hotline and his appearances here on WG.